opinion. Just one tiny problem with it. Inspecting your post, it looks like your opinion is different from mine. Let me tell you something. I am the baseline for opinions. Any opinion I hold is objectively correct, and as a result, any other opinions are wrong. Guess what? You happen to hold a wrong one. I hope you know that your opinion is now illegal. I have contacted the FBI, CIA, the NSA, the Navy SEALs, Secret Service, and your mom. You'll be sorry you ever shared your opinions. By the time you're reading this, you'll be done for. Nature will punish you. Humanity will punish you. Supernatural beings will punish you. Space will punish you. We decided just to make sure we'll nuke your house from orbit, so there's no chance you can run away. Everyone will know you will die. It's a small price to pay to remove your wrong opinion from this world.
Hello. Hello. Alright, we're going to talk about, give me 1 second. Oh, there we go. Alright, we're gonna talk about, the Bodycam of Bricks and Minifigs. If you want to rewatch, maybe consider liking the video, subscribing, or maybe commenting your thoughts. But that's what we're going to talk about. So, and without further ado, I guess let's start watching it.
Today, we're going through new released body cam footage and breaking down all of the lies and misinformation in the Bricks and Minifigs scandal that is going down. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is the legal mindset we teach you to be your own judge. So, as you guys may have known, this is the ongoing case involving Reckless Ben, Bricks and Minifigs, and $200,000 worth of Legos that were taken unjustly. So we're going into some new body cam footage that is featuring one character from this, Joseph Johnson, that's related to Bricks and Minifigs. Now, I'm going to be very fair in my analysis, and everybody out there who's watched my channel for a long time knows that I'm very fair. And there are some things I'm going to bring up where Reckless Ben, well, he was a little bit reckless. But in this case, we're going to see...
I guess that makes sense for the name, his channel name.
As we watch this footage, that the police are absolutely going to bat for Bricks and Minifigs and on their side here. So of the hour of footage, only about 30 minutes is available because the rest of it was muted. And that's very strategic because it presents only one side of the story. It's only presenting this side of the story that Bricks and Minifigs wants to get out there. They want the world to hear this. They want people to get this information. And that's why this was put out by police unredacted. So let's get into it right away here.
I'm on a call. She's like, I think they're coming in. All right. What the hell are we going to do? Because he tried coming in the door yesterday.
We'll do with what we can right here. But again, I'm going to look into those previous cases and I'll be back with you. Okay.
Okay, so they're in front of this guy's house here. They're already trying to kind of, you can see they're trying to game plan this, saying, hey, there's probably some statutes that they're breaking. Go look at this. If you look hard enough in any local code, you're going to find something that you're going to be able to press up against somebody. So what he's essentially saying here is, hey, go out and find something this guy has done and push him against it. Now, I'm not saying that Ben hasn't done things that have broken the law. In fact, he did film himself doing some things that clearly do break the law. However, they're trying to search for anything and everything to put everything against Reckless Ben.
They've got a case in Provo that they're working on because they've gone to businesses in Provo and harassed them. So they're getting them on interruption of commerce. Does that sound like a crime? Because they keep going to like business and harassing.
Interfering with the business.
And that's what they...
So, of course, there is going to be a certain point at which you do cross a line when you're going to a business repeatedly without a stated illegal purpose. But a lot of the times that they came there, they were under the guise of, hey, we're trying to serve you with process for this lawsuit, etc. Now, there were some times in the videos of Ben, which we watched before, where Ben did indeed and his friends go into those businesses to demand the Legos back after they've been told to leave, after they've been told to not come back. But there, you can see from this framing, once again, I'm looking at both sides here. So yes, did they push the line? Yes, did they trend over the line into harassment? It can very likely be framed that way by the police. However, they did try to deliver them with process for a lawsuit. So this is not completely giving the full side of the story.
Because we closed the store, we put the store out of business, so now he's got no more YouTube content. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to come out and
Make a show.
give him what he wants. He just wants YouTube stuff, right?
So on that comment in terms of a strategy there, well, yeah, of course. If someone is coming up and they're going to your house, you have no duty to come to the door and answer them, and you have no duty to do anything. But, if they don't want them to be there, call the cops, get them removed, get them trespassed. I mean, that's perfectly fine. But the other thing is they're trying to serve him with a lawsuit. So at some point, yes, a process server is going to be coming up to give him that information. The problem with Ben is that he was trying to film that essentially happening in real time. He was trying to be there with the process server, film them going in, film they're doing that. And that's the issue that they bumped into here.
So check this out. This is the kind of stuff they're trying to do at my house, right? So
he's clearly watching the video. So at this point, we know he's, checking in the videos. He's seeing what they're doing. And at least he's aware, hey, these guys are going to come up and create YouTube content. But at the same time, there's also this very real, and whether or not he wants to acknowledge them, we'll see, these lawsuits out there, which he did need to answer for.
Him. And where does he live? He lives in California. But this guy in Oregon that thinks that this business stole his Lego hired him to destroy us in the eyes of the public.
It's not a think, they did though.
View, because they don't have a civil case, they'll lose it.
Yeah.
I'm not responsible for a contract that you signed.
So here's where he's getting in the weeds, because he's saying, hey, we're just, the whole point here is to destroy them and to create bad publicity, and they don't want to sue because they'll lose because they have no contract. Well, why wouldn't you fight back with these small claims? With the small claims, why wouldn't you fight back with that? Why wouldn't you receive the process there, actually go through that and push back if you're just going to lose it, right? So that doesn't fully line up there. And making this argument, he's making these civil law arguments to the police officers. They're not the judge. The police officers are not there to adjudicate civil claims. All they should be doing is facilitating the delivery of the papers of the service of process. Because in both Oregon and in Utah, in this case, we're in Utah, if you're 18 years old and you are not a party or somehow related to the lawsuit, so the defendant, the plaintiff, or their representative, their legal representative, for example, then you're allowed to be a process server. So as long as they're a person that's competent, that 18 years old, they're following the Utah rules of civil procedure, and they're going up and delivering the proper papers to them, that's service of process. And sheriffs commonly do this all across the United States. In fact, that's the primary option for delivering service of process. So the sheriffs here, while they are getting into the law, while they're arguing this civil case, that's really not for them to do. All they do is hand the papers to them and say, hey, here's your lawsuit. If you think it's not valid, you've got to fight that in court.
And it's that simple.
Not today, sweatpants. Somebody's wearing jeans that fit.
No photos, please. I'm just a regular dad.
Looking good. Just share your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. Stitch Fix. Get started today.
Dealing with information overload, Notebook LM can turn dense documents into dialogue.
And they hung that sign up. But they're just, this is who I'm dealing with. This is who's freaking taking pictures of my house. Would you be comfortable with this guy coming to your house and bugging your wife?
Now, I think this is very, very much framing that is beneficial to Bricks and Minifigs. I think he's trying to paint this picture that, and this is something that comes up all across the internet all the time, of, okay, think of my wife, think of other people, and we're going to get into potential threats. He brings up threats later. And once again, we got to see those. I've got to see that they've actually done those, because making claims that, hey, these people are bugging your wife, well, we haven't seen that footage. And in the world of the internet, where people can say whatever and people can
frame it however they want,
lie, and people can just absolutely paint a false picture, which Bricks and Minifigs has done, I'm not going to believe this guy at face value that everything is happening that he says is indeed happening.
Would you like that? No, I wouldn't. And I know that's not your jurisdiction, but I'm just giving you an idea.
And that was in Oregon then?
Yeah, this is on the 6th.
So he had to have drove up then from California.
And this is the whole thing. Why is he showing this cop what happened in Oregon? This is Utah, right? So this whole thing seems to be like a presentation that he's giving for publicity on behalf of Bricks and Minifigs, saying, hey, look, feel so bad for me because all this stuff is happening to me. Well, this is irrelevant. Like, this information, yes, at some point, if there's a case going on in another state, that might be a thing. You can tell the officers to look at it, but him playing footage from him in another state, not 100% relevant to what he's doing now.
Yeah, so he flew out. He was here on Sunday. So he's come to my house Sunday, Monday, now Tuesday. So he keeps sending people to my house, right? I mean, what would you do?
I think this is a lot of him trying to garner sympathy here for his position as somebody on the Bricks and Minifigs team.
But he got my sister's address in Pleasant Grove and went and pounded on her door and tried to get YouTube content from her. And she's like, dude, I get nothing from it. You know what I mean? She don't know anything about it.
And once again, this is the whole thing. He's trying to garner sympathy by saying they're going after his family. Now, I don't know whether or not that's true. If
I have a feeling it might not be, but who knows?
If that is true, by the way, then yes, Reckless Ben and his team should not do that. They shouldn't be going after people's sisters, mothers, cousins, etc. And also, they're not
family off limits
parties to the lawsuit. The whole point for Ben, if he wants to keep things legitimate and keep things above water and keep things where it doesn't look like harassment, is he's trying to serve them the lawsuit. So you don't want to take actions recklessly that puts you at risk of committing a crime.
He's just trying to harass me. Like, that's all it is YouTube content and then harassment.
And that's the framing that Bricks and Minifigs wants. Now, whether or not that's true, we'll leave that up to you guys in the audience to let me know what you think. Is this harassment or is this not harassment? To some degree, I think with the Oregon situation, there were clear instances of trespassing. Yes, sure. That was very well documented. But whether or not it's harassment really depends on what were they trying to do at the moment. If they were trying to just serve that lawsuit, then it's not looking like harassment.
Be careful I get a jacket.
No, yeah.
While he goes in there, let's take a break for an important message from this video's sponsor. And now I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, FlixFluent. FlixFluent is a new tool that helps you learn languages fast. If you're like me and you like learning new languages through watching content on YouTube and Netflix, this is absolutely perfect because FlixFluent instantly gives you not just the entire context, but breaks down everything that's going in, deconstructing sentences, giving detailed explanations that really help you get a deep, substantive understanding of the language as you're watching something you enjoy. And because you guys are illegal mindset viewers, we are giving 20% off on the first month if you follow the link in the description or the pinned comment. So get FlixFluent and become fluent fast. This has absolutely helped me in transforming my language learning, and I am already becoming much better at the languages I'm studying, like Thai and Korean. Check out that link right now and enjoy FlixFluent.
I'm just going to see if he wants to go trespass and then leave.
So this is very interesting. So the girl that they're referencing is the process server. So according to what we know, as far as we know, this girl was a legitimate process server. Once again, the requirements are not that high. 18 years old, following the Utah rules of civil procedure, and not a party to this case. Now, I don't know whether or not this girl was a friend of Ben's who might have been on one of those small claims lawsuits that would make her ineligible to be a process server, but the requirements are not that high. So it seems that it could be very reasonable that she is a valid process server. So that is something that is very easy for them to look up and to say, hey, well, what is it required here? Not much. Okay, you just want these papers delivered? Well, let's go deliver them, because another job of the sheriffs is supposed to be to deliver that paperwork.
Hold on. All right. What are you wanting done today? Besides, obviously, talk to...
As much as you humanly possibly can.
You want her trespass?
No. I want them for stalking.
Okay. That's something I can work through.
Well, so you see here, he's making demands of the police. And look, he's in this position where he's trying to say, okay, you guys go out and do this for me. Once again, this is, I think, the Bricks and Minifigs hubris here is saying we're going to not just do what is on paper, the thing that they can do. Yes, they can be trespassed. Yes, that's very much valid. You can definitely do that. You can definitely trespass people. That's normal. But he's saying you've got to go above and beyond and press them for stalking. Now, I don't know whether or not there's enough evidence and whether or not they actually have enough to put together for stalking. Stalking does require a course of conduct that inflicts reasonable fear in someone or emotional distress. So that is debatable in this case. But he's trying to essentially boss them around. And it looks like, based on what's happened in this case, that the American Forks PD actually went and did his bidding.
But for right now, you want her trespassed?
Yes. That's all you can do.
Right now, I can screen charges, but with them saying they're trying to serve papers, kind of puts me in a little bit of a bind. I understand you have a history with...
They're fake.
I understand.
And here's the thing. So he's starting this narrative that the papers are fake. Well, how do you know that until you receive the lawsuit? So the whole point of service of process is to give you notice of the lawsuit, give you the paperwork, then you can check it. You can go to the court number, you look at the paperwork, you go to the court number, you pull it up. So if it's fake, you get the paperwork, you look at the number, and it's not there. But if it's in the system, if it's actually valid and it's there. So this is complete BS. It completely goes against what service of process is supposed to be. You may not know about a lawsuit before you get that paperwork. That's the whole point. That's why you have to be served in the first place. If you are not served, you are taken to not have knowledge of that. You have no duty to go online and look up your court cases and say, okay, who's suing me right now? And know everybody that could potentially be filing something against you. You have to be served. You have to get that paperwork yourself. So what he is doing here, and the police are enabling here, which is perhaps the most gross misuse of police power, when they should know dang well better, because it's their job to do this, that he needs to be handed that paperwork. And you can see in his hand here, he has the paperwork. And he knows if he hands that paperwork over, that's it. He's on the hook. The lawsuit is going through. So that's why he's trying to hold back to not give him that paperwork.
And you have a history with him. But for right now, again, I'm open to screening charges through our attorney.
That's what him and the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs said stalking was. So he sent that to me.
So now they're telling the police to follow what the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs is saying. Essentially, the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs is, telling them how high to jump, and they're doing it. They're going above and beyond. What the heck is going on here? This is ridiculous. And remind you, when they were speaking to Reckless Ben, and oftentimes when they speak to people in general, they should say and do say, hey, civil claims are not our business. We don't need to get involved in small claims court. That's not the job of the police. The police should be out there arresting real criminals, people actually doing bad things. But now they're going out here and doing the bidding to protect somebody from a civil case. This is wild. And this is a gross misuse of police resources.
Yeah, that's something I'm more than willing to screen.
Yeah,
okay.
Would cause a reasonable person to fear for their safety or suffer significant emotional distress.
So for right now, you want her trespassed?
I want them all trespassed,
okay.
Yes.
I'm going to go talk with him, give him this paper back, since you do not want this.
Can I just peek at it?
What was that?
Can I peek at it?
If he peeks, and this is the whole thing, if he looks at it, he's been served. And the sheriff knows that because that's the sheriff's job. So if the sheriff hands him that paper, he's been served. So they're protecting him by not doing that. And what does he say here? Look at how these guys are blocking for him.
It kind of puts me in a little bit of a bind.
It's fake. There's no
See, and then he pivots. So he says it puts me in a bind because if I hand it to you, you've been served. So he has to say, oh, it's fake. It's fake. That's not your job to determine whether it's fake, buddy. You haven't even seen it. You can't say whether it's fake or not. You have to actually look at the paperwork. How would you know?
What do you know?
If you get that service, you get that complaint, and it meets all the rules of the Utah rules of civil procedure, that is a valid lawsuit. You can't say it's fake. But he can just wave his arms and say, oh, it's all fake, it's all lies, because the cops are blocking for him in this.
So anyway, I'm going to give this back to him. And trespasser.
Because here's the thing. Like, think about this logically. Do you think...
Oh, God, here we go. You know it's going to be good when he says, think about it logically. Oh, okay, so here, get your BS shovel ready for this one.
Process server would show up with a guy that's been harassing a YouTuber to serve papers in Utah.
Again, I don't.
Yes, because YouTubers want to make content. So something that he is right about here is that YouTubers do want to create content, and that's content. So to Ben, he is thinking about this from the frame of a YouTuber, and he's saying, I'm going to record this guy being served, because that's a hell of a gotcha moment when you get him on camera being served and you get that face where they grimace knowing they actually got him in a lawsuit. That is content, right? And of course he wants to make that content. Of course, that's what Ben's goal is. Now, it is a little bit of a mistake for Ben, because by being there with them, they're more likely to view the process server as somebody who might be harassing or might be also an interested party, and therefore not a valid process server, because once again, one of the criteria is that process server be neutral and not be involved in the actual case itself. So they might say, okay, well, you showing up with them violates or appears to violate. It gives the impression that this person is not neutral, even if they completely are neutral and they actually have no dog in this fight. They're just an actual process server, and they are just doing their job. So in this case, them not wanting to deliver the papers here and the sheriff holding them and wanting to give them back and trespass an actual process server is nuts. It's actually wild.
The whole situation.
Think about logic. This guy's came to my house 3 days in a row. He's harassing people, and he's just going to be in the same car with a process server. No.
Is he in the car right now?
Why wouldn't he be? I mean, of course, it's content for him. So, why wouldn't he be in the same car, not knowing the rules? Because look, reckless Ben, let's give it to him. He Googled some stuff, but he doesn't Google everything. He doesn't know all the rules of civil procedure. He doesn't know everything about Utah law, but he doesn't know absolutely everything. So yeah, he's going to focus on what he is best at, which is creating engaging content. And that's what he's trying to do there. So yes, that does make sense. You can have a valid process server that's in the same car as a YouTuber. Just because you're a YouTuber doesn't suddenly take away the process server's powers. It's not magical where it depletes their process server energy. That's a ridiculous argument by this guy.
It's just not, that's fake. It is a lie. She's impersonating a process server. That is not a real lawsuit.
That would be absolutely ridiculous. Once again, the threshold is so low. So many people can do it. It's so easy to get that done that would be pretty ridiculous if Ben actually was trying to come up with somebody that was not qualified to be a process server. That would be, I don't believe that. I am on the side of believing that girl was an actual legitimate process server.
If it was, it would go to a law firm, and then the law firm would send out a process server.
Now, this is where he's thinking traditionally, right? He's thinking, okay, well, if I'm dealing with businesses, because from the big corporate bricks and minifigs world, right? Every other corporation goes against a lawyer, hires somebody, and the lawyer does that work. That is normal, but that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. A process server doesn't become a process server because a lawyer pays them money. A process server is a process server because they meet the statutory requirements, the requirements in the law. So very, very, very simple.
But for right now, you want her trespass. You don't want him anywhere near the property, and I'll start looking at charges for stalking.
Yes, stalking.
And this all stems from the store in
Oregon. Yeah, I showed him a video. He shows up in his underwear and breaks things.
Own the store, or
Well, here's the thing. Why is this relevant? They're in Utah. So we don't want to conflate the issues here because obviously these are two different states. There's two different sets of laws. And I know it can get confused again. Sometimes these things can jump back and forth when we're talking about Oregon and we're talking about Utah, but we're talking about Utah here. So why are you going back and bringing that up when what we're dealing with is just serving you a lawsuit? That does not make sense to me.
So when we first took it over, we were just employees. We're there to rescue it. Then, like 4 months into it, we said, sure, we'll sign a franchise agreement. So like April or May, we signed a franchise agreement for it, not knowing how big of a mess this is. And then we operated it until this last month. We closed the doors and it's closed forever.
Okay. And
because of them.
How was he associated with the store?
He's not.
And I love how they're trying to blame this on Reckless Ben, which is probably what they're trying to line up for some sort of civil case against him. Because I guarantee you, now that we have Ben's GoFundMe, which is past 200K. It's actually in the 300K plus range. So they've actually raised a bunch of money on this GoFundMe for the Mancells, for the Lego project. What may happen here, as we see in many other cases, we actually watched this in the Ethan Klein case with Casey Tron, where essentially after Ethan won, he went in and got those GoFundMe dollar or the legal defense fund dollars. They may try to go after the GoFundMe funds, and they seemed in other videos very interested in that. So what they may be trying to queue up here is to go after them for damages with those statements. This is where people aren't thinking ahead. They're trying to say, okay, we want some of that money now because now we're going to say you got our store closed and you lost us a bunch of money. When in reality, these stores were probably failing anyways. I said this in my previous video, but those Legos, which took over most of the store, were pretty much what was keeping that store going. Without that Star Wars Legos collection, that store was probably going to be defunct and go out of business anyway. So the only thing that got them by was probably liquidating that those Legos in an invalid way. So taking those Legos and selling them off without actually paying back what they owe to the Mancells, that's actually was probably what probably kept them afloat.
He's a YouTuber that this guy hired to harass us because they know they don't have a civil case. So they said, we can't sue you, we would lose. So we're going
That's actually not what they said. What they said was if they sue you, it's going to be expensive. And I do agree that in many cases, civil suits are expensive and are not worth it. However, I think small claims can work. They also could have hired a lawyer on contingency. So that's essentially a percentage of the recovery. So there were options for them. I don't know whether the Mancells knew.
So the guy decided to fake tell what actually happened. Interesting.
Those were options, or maybe at that stage there wasn't enough publicity to find a lawyer that they wanted or a really good lawyer. I think at this point there's a lot of lawyers that'll just hop on this case on behalf of the Mancells just to get their name out there. That'll be excited to take this case for the publicity. But that claim that they're going to lose, that's just without really any merit or substance behind it. Just saying, okay, well, they're going to lose because you guys say they're going to lose. Well, of course you're going to say that. You're Bricks and Minifigs, right? You're not going to want them to win. You're not going to admit that they're going to win on camera in front of everybody because these guys know they're being recorded. All of these guys know they're being recorded. And that's part of this. This is all a show for the publicity of Bricks and Minifigs.
take this in the eyes of the public and just defame and make you guys look like jerks in the public's eye. Okay. That's their whole thing. He's a YouTuber. He
has nothing to do with this.
He's a YouTuber. He lives in California. He has nothing to do with the store. He is
well, technically, he does because he bought an interest through individual contracts. He bought an interest in the Lego. So technically, because the Mancells had the ability to assign parts of their inventory and kind of parcel those out, he actually does have an interest here. So Reckless Ben does have something to do. So this is actually dishonest on his part, and a framing that is not true. Because the whole point of the small claims lawsuits is that they do have an interest here and they are relevant.
Hotels.com is where you go to choose from hundreds of thousands of hotels and earn rewards on every stay. It's exactly what it sounds like. Unlike
just exclusively trying to get content.
He's got a video of him vandalizing
I mean, that's YouTubers in general. I'm just saying.
in the store, kind of in Oregon, right?
Yeah, it's hanging signs.
Well, there wasn't really any damage there. I think trying to get them on serious vandalization isn't going to work. Trespassing, maybe. There's some other things that they did that might qualify as disorderly conduct, but they're really not going to get them on vandalism for the sign, for hanging a sign. There's no property damage, what it seemed like from anything that was going on there.
They sent a lady in, and the lady's like, "Oh, to Amanda, the manager."
Okay, this is a big one because anytime anybody comes up with a serious threat there saying they actually threatened somebody, I want to see that on video. I want to know that it actually happened. A lot of times on the internet, a lot of places, they will say this to police to get police active and involved and really fired up. They will exaggerate, so they bring up these sort of threats. In the day and age that we're in, I need to see the Carfax on that and see the actual proof that these threats were made, because that's a very serious allegation.
And Amanda is she's a tough lady. And Amanda's like, "All right, get to it." And the lady, got scared. Obviously, she didn't kill her, right? They fake signed Amanda's signature and they said, "Oh, well, you said you signed this, so you owe us money. Start writing checks, blah, blah, blah."
Well, that was dumb. And that's the part of the reckless Ben contract thing where they tried to make them sign as part of a delivery. That was dumb. That was not enforceable. That's not a legal contract. That on the part of Ben was indeed dumb. But that doesn't make Bricks and Minifigs right here. And that doesn't get them off the hook. Certainly for the lawsuits as well.
That's forgery, vandalism. They helped. This kid went to the park and he set up a little table. He printed a tablecloth that says Bricks and Minifigs, and he had a fake raffle. So people started coming into the store and they're like, "I won the raffle at the park." We didn't know what raffle. We're not doing a raffle. Yeah, you had a table set up. He sold shirts out on the corner. He hung signs. He called the store a billion times, threatened the employees. Now they're coming to our houses, and they went to corporate headquarters on Monday. Okay. So Provo's working.
Now, if they actually did threaten employees and go to individual employees,
that would be bad, but well, let's see if he did.
His houses and actually, harass them. That would look bad on Ben's side for Ben's team. So, to the extent that they would have done that. But once again, we need to see proof that a lot of these things actually happen, because at this point, I'm not just believing Bricks and Minifigs that all of these things actually happen, because Bricks and Minifigs has been completely dishonest throughout a lot of this.
On a case.
I mean, also, the company obviously doesn't want to go out of business and lose reputation, so obviously they're going to lie any which way they can.
For whatever reason.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that makes things a little more clear. He has no association.
He's a YouTuber. He's just trying to get content.
Okay, I'm gonna go talk to him. I'll be right back.
Yep. Yeah, process server's really getting right with the YouTuber. I mean, how stupid does he think I am?
I mean, why not? What's so dumb? It's not.
I mean, it's not that really
a violation of anything to ride with a YouTuber. YouTubers are not criminals here, right? This is not like you're riding with the FBI's most wanted. It's a YouTuber. It's not a crime to be a YouTuber. It's not a crime to create YouTube content. It's not even a crime to want to do something for clicks and engagement. Now, that we can call that out. We do this on that channel, on this channel all the time, calling out content, whether it's legitimate, not legitimate, etc. That's fine, but it doesn't change your ability as a process server just because you sit in a car with a YouTuber.
Like the kid delivered the fake package to me. I'm looking at him. I'm like, "You look like you're 16." I'm like, "You work for?" You look at his hat, UPS. He's like, "Yeah. Sign here." Well, what the heck? And I was sitting there just thinking about it. I went to church and came back. I'm like, "Oh, I bet this is that scammer, So I called the police. I'm like, "Dude, I want you to come look at this fake package." And then they started, 2 cars pulled up. And then the cop showed up on Sunday. I'm just done. I'm done with it. There's got to be something you can do, right?
That's where screening charges. That immediately gets the attorneys involved.
Well, obviously they could trespass them. So that's something they can definitely do. And to the extent that they've been trespassed and continue to, violate that, I mean, you're looking at potential stalking charges. Yes. If they have been told to leave and they've continued to go and come to the house and harass, etc., that could be a problem. However, if they're sending a neutral process server there, someone just there to serve them with the papers, that's not harassment. That's doing what the court requires. So I'm being very fair here. I'm saying, hey, look, to the extent that they're doing stuff other than serving the lawsuit, yeah, Ben does need to back off. He needs to stop doing that stuff.
Careful, I call Ammon, the CEO.
Oh, go ahead. You're not in trouble or anything.
This is very suspicious. So I think they knew this body cam footage was going to be released because Ben's
what do you say?
Stuff.
Careful, I call Ammon, the CEO.
Oh, go ahead. You're not in trouble or anything.
This is very suspicious. So I think they knew this body cam footage was going to be released because Ben's team was requesting it. So now they're calling the CEO. So the CEO has his chance to tell his side of the story without Ben or anybody else challenging it. And the police don't have enough information to push back. So they're essentially giving these guys a window to just speak to everybody unfiltered without anybody pushing back, anybody checking on their story. I think that's extraordinarily suspicious.
Right now, we're just kind of wanting to know what you want done on this.
As much as we human.
And by the way, what does Bricks and Minifigs have to do with this guy in Utah? The store is in Oregon. So why are they calling the CEO to deal with what's happening at his personal home?
Yeah, that's a bit odd. I mean, I don't think the CEO really cares.
This doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And this is where, by the way, the Mormon Mafia stuff comes in and people saying that their guys are all in on it because they're all members of the LDS church, etc. And I see where these theories come from. Now, I'm not going to say whether or not those theories are valid or not. I think a lot of this is small town. I think a lot of this is corporate corruption. But that said, it doesn't look good for Bricks and Minifigs. It looks like they're trying to push a narrative, and it does look like the police are enabling it.
What I really want. I want them to go to Brandon's house. Hey, what's up, man? Hey. Just here with the police again. They sent they have fake service papers.
How do you know they're fake?
How do you know they're fake? They could be legit. You just want them to be fake.
No, they're fake because you haven't looked at them. You have to actually look at them to determine whether or not they're fake.
The girl is like, she's like, oh no, I got to serve in these papers. Like they printed up a fake lawsuit, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah, do you think the process server would really be riding with the YouTube guy to deliver papers to a guy that he's been harassing? The girl came up to the house and then I was working. I was on call. So Candy's like, oh, she's coming back because Ben told her to come back and take pictures inside the windows. So then she's taking pictures in the windows. And yesterday they tried to come in the door. And then Sunday they delivered the fake package. I don't know what to do, man.
So did you call the police again?
Yeah, they're here. He's standing here. You're on speaker.
Okay.
I just don't know what to do, man. I'm done with these guys.
He's trying to make himself once again out to be a victim here. What they should have done is just given them the money. Was all of this worth even $200K? At the end of the day,
yeah, that's all you had to do, really.
this is the stupidest corporate decision ever. Even if the corporate side wasn't 100% responsible, even if the previous franchise owners are the ones that shafted them, at a certain point, just paying out the money or having a settlement, which they are now finally offering to do. After all of this, Bricks and Minifigs has contacted the Mancells or sent out, an olive branch saying we're going to get a professional mediator, we're going to get a professional arbitrator, and we're going to negotiate this. Finally, it took them this long. This is not worth it. At this point, there's been irreparable PR damage done to this company that they're probably not going to come back from.
So I'm assuming Josh has kind of explained what's been going on and what's happening. They're using electronic communications to stalk and harass our staff pretty aggressively. Obviously trying to take pictures inside, somebody's home. They tried to come into our office yesterday. And
some of that we have documented, right? And of course, at a certain point, they were trespassed. And after that point, yeah, they shouldn't be coming back. But they are trying to, Bricks and Minifigs is trying to paint themselves as a victim here, no doubt.
We've now had multiple agencies across multiple cities and multiple states dealing with these individuals. And the Sandy police yesterday were ready and willing to arrest these individuals for Utah statutes for cyberbullying and digital stalking, because they're using electronic means for communication and coordinating their stalking.
It's very interesting that they're using the electronic communication, sort of cyberbullying. This is exactly what those statutes are kind of on point for. However, there is a certain point that behavior can cross that line, but we're going to need to see the Carfax. What exactly did they send? If what they were sending was just relating to the lawsuits, I don't think that constitutes cyberbullying. And that's where we need to see exactly what was sent here that you're saying was cyberbullying. If they're just asking, okay, well, what's going on with the lawsuits? When are you going to pay? When are you going to settle this out? And they have an interest in the Legos. Remember, they've actually purchased some of those Legos. So what they're doing is not really bullying. It's trying to get what is required by what is going to be required by the law, either through the lawsuit or get their interest, get their property interest. So whether or not that falls under bullying or cyber stalking, I think that may be a stretch. But we'd have to actually
might be a little bit, yeah.
See the emails.
Oh, it's digital stalking, not stalking.
It's all of the above.
Okay,
but because they're continuing to use additional tactics and other things like that, thinking that they're being cute and whatnot, the reality is they are causing financial, physical, the harm that they're creating, going after the individuals. Their families are afraid to leave the house, because they're doxing people. They're doing things to try and generate hate and online
And that's not, I will say, I do take a strong stance against doxing, especially doxing families. I think that is categorically wrong, and I don't think anybody should do that. But once again, we need to see, are they actually doing this? Or are they saying they're doing this? Is this something that Reckless Ben is doing? Or is this something that people online are doing? Because Reckless Ben did his coverage, but he's not responsible for everything that everybody on the internet does following up with that. Right? That's something that you can't hold somebody to. It's just like when you make a YouTube video, right? You can't control what everybody says in the comments, right? You can try to set up filters, you can delete stuff, but that doesn't mean you can put words in other people's mouths or can completely control their actions. But I think in this case, they probably are exaggerating some of it, even though I have no doubt that they got hate calls. I have no doubt that they got people expressing their negative emotions towards Bricks and Minifigs. I do think they're going to be playing this up because they know this body cam footage is going to go on the internet.
So they're actively spreading falsehoods online. They're doing all sorts of things just to extort money out of us.
And that's the case they want to make. They want to make this into extortion, because that would be the most damning, strong case against Ben. They want to say that this was all a big extortion attempt, and that's their framing. That's the angle for Bricks and Minifigs. So the secrets come out here that that's their story. Their story is extortion.
So we've got pending extortion, a case that the Provo Police Department's working on us with. And there's lots of things, but they're ramping things up, and they're continuing to send people in. They just won't leave people alone.
Yeah.
This can't continue. So somebody has to be arrested to show that they can't continue to do this. Because it's not just harmless, knocking on somebody's door. This is stalking. This is harassment. And I've already looked up the laws. The laws in the state of Utah aren't trained just to threats of physical violence or harassment. So there's other forms of harassment that absolutely qualify in this case. And we need the police to take action to get these people to stop causing harm to individuals and their families.
There's just too many steps to finding a therapist. It takes 5 minutes. They're probably all booked. Meet a great one tomorrow. Can't. I'm walking my sister's dog. Stop. You need therapy. Yeah.
With Rula, getting help is easier than talking yourself out of it.
Please stop. I'll make it stop. I'm saying something.
Yep. And that's the case officer. He, like you were saying, he's going to submit, have it screened for charges with our prosecutors, right? With our city prosecutors. They're going to review everything, and then ultimately arresting someone for an offense. They go to jail, they get booked, they get let out.
Yep.
It's going to go through that whole same process. what's going to happen is if he's got multiple incidents with multiple agencies, it's all going to go through our district court. But then they can kind of combine everything from what I understand. And
but also, I mean, like, again, adding to the charges.
And I think this is pushing it here. So saying that they're impersonating an officer of the court, I think that's pressing it. Because once again,
did he ever? I don't think he ever pretended to be an officer of the court, though.
Requirements are almost nothing to be a process server in Utah. What are you talking about? This person presumptively is going to be meeting the criteria for a process server. I think that's complete BS. Why would you even lie about that? It's not hard to get a process server. It's not expensive. It doesn't require too much. You can get the sheriffs to do it as well. But clearly, you can't get the sheriffs to do it in American Forks because they're actually going to support this guy. They're going to back this guy up and not serve him the papers, which is ridiculous. That's their duty as officers of the law to actually go and deliver those court papers, but they don't want to actually do what their real job is. And they cannot rely on this guy's word that it's fake. They have to do their job and give him the papers. That's the ridiculous part here.
Impersonating an officer of the court, that carries some, it's pretty significant,
you can't pretend to be a process server.
So yeah, and like, again, there's additional fraud that they're conducting. I don't know, like, obviously we're working with the police up in state of Oregon, but up there they actually forged somebody's signature on a fake contract just to try and it's all just for clicks and for views and everything else online. They don't actually care about any of the things that they're going after.
But that's not really relevant to whether or not there's a legal case here. It doesn't matter. And this is something I've brought up, and we can argue this. And I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments. But it doesn't matter if someone is just doing something for clicks. If they actually had a case, you have to respond to that case, right? You can file, and bad people file lawsuits. You still have to answer the lawsuit. And guess what? Bad people win lawsuits sometimes too.
I mean, you still have to follow the law and how the law operates.
You still have to answer. You still have to take that paperwork. It doesn't worm you out of this. In fact, the more and more you look at this, the more and more it looks that Bricks and Minifigs knows they're on the hook for this. They know they did something wrong, but they're trying to come up with any possible story here to get out of this and look better in the public eye because they know that they're not looking good.
Well, other than also the extortion. So they're continuing to also press this issue of extortion. When the party that actually owes the money, they're in on it with that person. They've been actively coordinating, trying to shift the blame to our company.
And once again, this is all speculation. That's pure speculation. And if you have a problem with that, once again, this is a thing where Bricks and Minifigs, the franchise owner, they can go and bring those things to court as well. They don't want to sue. And Ben brought up that point, which is very true. Bricks and Minifigs doesn't want to be the Goliath trying to beat down on little David there. They don't want to try to pick on the little guy. They don't want to be perceived that way. So Bricks and Minifigs is trying to now do a jujitsu move in the public eye and become victims themselves, but it's not going to completely work.
And obviously, so like, I know that you're not the attorney, you're not the one that's going to be looking at that kind of stuff, but like, I think it needs to be documented the actions that they are continuing to take. So them pretending to be UPS drivers and getting a signature.
And a lot of this stuff, why are they bringing it up to the Utah police? This happened in another state. It blows my mind. Although they're claiming, and
I mean, if it's not in Utah, why should it matter what they did in another state?
He claims in this video that the UPS delivery also happened here, right? So this is something that both happened in Oregon and happened in Utah, the same kind of delivery method. But in this case, these guys aren't really going to be taking action on that.
Is probably going to be used for more additional fraud.
Yep.
That they're going to be pushing for, and that I think also is a crime to pretend to be like a delivery driver to obtain signature. Like, there's so much that they're doing right now that is like part of a coordinated like just scheme to go after
all right. She's been trespassed.
Hold on, Officer Sunbot is back.
Okay, she's been trespassed. Talking with him, he's telling me a different story. Again, I don't know all the specifics of your case. He is very adamant that he wants to serve you with papers. Okay.
That's fake. That's illegal. You can't.
And I will say, in terms of the delivery driver, it is true that if you're trying to impersonate someone to commit fraud or obtain something, that could be a crime. So that is not far off. And that was kind of a reckless and stupid idea to go about that. And that contract would have been unenforceable anyways. That was a very bad idea to use the fake delivery driver method. That was not the fake package delivery, for example, fake UPS. That's not a good method, and people should not copy that method.
Pretend to be a process server.
So
you can't. It's illegal.
I've explained to him that you don't want to be served papers. He's got to.
This is ridiculous, people. This is preposterous. You don't get to choose that you don't want to be served papers. You have to receive. If that is your name, that is the person that you are. You're out there. You're on the front porch speaking to cops that have verified it's you. They have to give you what are you doing? What are we even talking about here? This is absolutely ridiculous.
Figure something out. If it's, again, I don't know if there's an actual case right now in Oregon.
It's a Class A misdemeanor.
They could look it up. It would take them 2 seconds to look up the case number and pull it up. And so this guy's going to try to say, oh, it's a Class A misdemeanor for impersonating a process server. Well, just look up the lawsuit. It's a legitimate. Okay, well, it's a legitimate lawsuit. This person meets the criteria. What are we talking about here?
To impersonate a process server in the state of Utah.
So right now,
I want her arrested for impersonating a process server.
So right now, I've explained that to them. And explained it.
And the cops probably know that it doesn't take much to be a process server. So this guy trying to put out that they're impersonating a process server, like it's such BS.
He needs to go a whole different route about this and to not come onto your property as well as her.
I can't just go and pretend. I can't go print up fake documents and go try to process serve people. That's illegal.
Okay. Have you two been to court before?
No. He can't. No, he's a YouTuber.
What does that? What type of this?
The argument doesn't make sense.
The argument is insane. He is trying to say that YouTubers can't file lawsuits. Are you insane? It happens all the time. YouTubers sue people all the time. It's what I cover on my channel. This channel is pretty much 50%, 75% YouTubers and streamers suing each other and being sued. What are you talking about? Being a YouTuber doesn't make you into a prisoner. It does not make you into a felon where you no longer have the right to sue and you lose your right to sue. What are you talking about, buddy? He is absolutely delusional here.
Okay, you've never been to court with him.
No.
So these papers that he printed.
See, this is where they're not understanding. You don't go to court till after you've been served. What? What sort of world are we in? And the cops know this. I mean, can they be this stupid? I mean, this is really stupid.
Apparently they can.
Fake. Yes, 1 billion, trillion, gazillion %.
Okay, never been to court with him. Or
never been to court. No.
Once again, court doesn't start till after. Why are we having this conversation? I think they're having this conversation because they know it's going to get out there and they want to try to present their side of this all being fake, etc. Now, there is a point out there, and some people have made this, that Ben may have sued the wrong people and put the wrong entities on there. That might be a mistake, but that actually doesn't make it a fake lawsuit. It's still a real lawsuit. It just might have the wrong entities. But what commonly happens, and this happens all the time, I've dealt with this in countless cases, where we're dealing with franchises and individuals, they'll just revise that case. You'll just refile that case. Sometimes you'll just file a motion to amend, or sometimes you'll just refile it if it's relatively minor cost. It's not something that makes it fake. It's just a minor error if you might have put the wrong name on a certain party as a certain party.
Nobody's ever been to court. He's a YouTuber.
Okay, what was the reason behind your store closing this month?
His harassment and vandalism. Yeah.
So on your own accord, you guys.
On my own accord, yes.
Okay. I've explained that to him. Right now, I'll look into.
Did you take pictures of those things?
Right. Yes, I got the case number that he's referring to, and I'll check with the court, see if it's a valid civil case that he's trying to push through, and we'll go about it that way. Okay. Again, I don't know all the specifics. I don't know why this whole thing has been happening between the two of you. I'm getting two different stories from each one.
What is he possibly saying?
He's saying that he had $200,000 worth of Star Wars Legos.
He did. No, he did not.
Right.
Never had
So,
that.
so officer, again, this is Ammon. I'm with the corporate office.
And they're just taking his word for it. They're not pushing back at all. They're not fighting on this. And why are
They're not even questioning what he's saying.
they going into these details? This is not for them to deal with. The cops should just have dealt with this trespass and said, okay, we're going to trespass them. Why are they going through all of this time, spending 30 minutes to give this presentation of their side? I think it's because they knew this was going to get out there, because they mute the next 30 minutes of this body cam footage. We're going to watch a few more minutes till they mute it here, but they mute the rest because they just want to give their side, the Bricks and Minifigs side, and not Ben's side.
The CEO.
Oh, hi.
So what's happened is we had a former franchisee that entered into an invalid consignment agreement with a completely separate person. That person sold their Lego sets and didn't pay the person that they entered. And this has nothing to do with Mr. Schneider. Mr. Schneider is just a YouTuber that got a hold of the story and then went to this guy and said, hey, if I can harass these guys, and if I can do some stuff and get some money out of them, will you pay me some of that money?
That's speculation, right? That is definite speculation there.
And that's what they're trying
That sounds like conspiracy theory.
to do is the individual who actually owes the money left the United States. They were one of our franchisees. They were terminated as a franchisee for violating all sorts of rules. They then fled to Europe somewhere.
Now, that's the bigger issue here. The bigger issue to this case, and I've brought this up, is the people that probably took most of the money and ran are now somewhere else and they can't be got. And they're the ones that probably did a lot of the misdeeds here as they ran off with the money. A lot of those Legos were probably already sold off and they already took those gains and ran with them or used them for the final month's operational expenses or something. So that's the real problem here, is that they're never going to get the exact Legos back. Hopefully with the GoFundMe, if those funds are not taken by Bricks and Minifigs in some sort of follow-up lawsuit, hopefully the Mancells can be restored here and get some of their money back, or get some of their collection back rather.
And so we've been trying to deal with this situation. We've been trying to help the person up in Oregon, but because we found out later that they've been all working together to try and force some money out of this. So we've had our attorneys working on it. We've been in contact with the Marion County Sheriff's Department, the Marion County District Attorney, the Kaiser. This is all up in Oregon. And then they started flying down here, coming to our corporate offices, and now they're heading to our staff and other individuals' personal residences to just harass and continue to try and extort money out of them.
That's a bold claim, and if that's not true, that's defamation, because now they've accused them of direct extortion. So there's a lot of potential defamation going both ways, right? Where Bricks and Minifigs is saying things about Ben that could be defamatory, and Ben has made certain statements that are not kind of careful that might be taken as defamatory the other way. But that's a bold statement, and we're going to need to see a lot more proof there, especially, like I said, when they talk about this sob story of, oh, they're harassing the families or they're harassing the other people. We're going to need to see some proof of that actually happened to validate that, because a lot of people nowadays will say that, but that stuff doesn't actually happen.
And so there's already a case in Provo because they've been passing fraudulent documents up in Oregon. They created a fake contract, forged a manager's signature up there.
Now that fake contract was a bad idea, and even Ben himself said it wasn't legal. So that one is a knock on Ben. But the rest of the stuff right here, talking about, and I'm going to skip this part here because it talks about something bad, but talking about threats, that's in a legal context, right? Obviously, we're going to need to see proof of the threats.
Like, if you go to his channel, Reckless Ben, that's what he does. He just goes around and he does stupid things, and he harasses people, and he chops and screws up all of this footage.
That's news coverage. That's what the mainstream media does. Yes, YouTubers do that too. Everybody does this. You do this in your presentation for marketing and advertising. You take an event and you chop it up and you use the best stuff that looks favorable to you. Everybody does that. That doesn't make you a criminal for chopping up content, right? And doing stuff that's stupid. You find it stupid. Somebody else might find it entertaining. That's none of your business. And it's certainly not criminal.
Let's see that again. She opens the Gemini app. She needs a spotless expense report here.
And that's all he's trying to do is get footage right now. He's just trying to get more footage to put more videos out there to get more clicks and likes. He has nothing to do with this case other than he just, and he was the one who vandalized the store over the weekend, along with Mr. Mansell, who's the original person consigned to a completely different entity. So they just know that, because that other person, that other party, they went bankrupt and don't have any money, they're just going after somebody else that they think they can just extort money out of.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you has the store had any sort of lawsuit filed against them by this Ben Schneider or the Mansell?
No. So again, going on the fraud that the Marion County District Attorney's office is looking into, they filed multiple small claims court claims against a completely separate entity, and they used fictitious names to do so. All of the cases were then dropped.
Well, and this is a thing. Obviously, if they screwed up names and they had to refile it, that's one thing, but that doesn't make it a fake case. It just means they maybe got some details wrong, right? So they are allowed also to use, let's say they came up with their own LLCs, they could use their LLC name. So you don't have to use your personal name. So I don't know whether he's framing that accurately. It sounds like I don't trust the Bricks and Minifigs people. So I don't think he's necessarily framing this accurately. But the thing is, they did refile, right, these small claims, these several small claims cases. And it does appear that some of them can be made valid, right? If all you have to do is change a name or change a party, that's not a big deal. It's still a valid small claims case. Suing for part of that property, right, individually in small claims court is valid. Breaking it up, itemizing it, that was actually smart on Ben's part, and that is a valid tactic.
Because of it. And but none of them were filed against the actual individuals. They weren't filed against Josh or his entity.
And this is something they can correct. So they're saying, oh, they weren't filed against Josh or his entity. Well, they can correct that. They can change the parties, right? Now you're just arguing details. Now and this is the other thing too, you're kind of admitting that you would be on the line if all the ducks were in a row and everything was properly addressed. This is where, to me, why did you not pay them out? Why were you fighting them for this long?
Were filed against us and our entity. They were filed against completely either fictitious entities or other entities. But they're fraudulently filing things with the state in order to make it look legitimate when he puts his videos out online. And he's done this at least, I think, in 2 other instances with individuals who ended up filing lawsuits against him.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on right now with our own attorneys is going after him and his stuff. But no lawsuits have been filed against us, against Josh and his entity, or against any of the parties that he's claiming. But we're working on our lawsuit to file against him and all individuals that.
So look at the PD. They're just taking their word for it, saying, okay, and not serving them the papers that he literally had in his hand. They had it in his hand. It would take a quick call. All you got to do is look down and say, hey, here's the information. Look up the case number. It's real quick to do. Say, okay, this is a legitimate lawsuit. Here's your lawsuit. You've been served, right? They refuse to do their job, but yet they're listening to this whole pitch, this whole sob story from Bricks and Minifigs.
Associated with him, including the former franchisees and Mr. Mansell, who are all colluding together to try and extort money out of us.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Let me make some phone calls and I'll be back with you. Okay, just 1 moment.
So I'm going to stop that there. From this, it cuts out. But what we can see here is that Bricks and Minifigs especially tried to give their side of the story in this and tried to give their pitch, and that the PD, the America Forks PD in Utah, absolutely is in their pocket, taking their side, not doing their job. This is a gross misuse of police resources and a lack of basic training, fairness, not showing bias. There's so many problems with this, not to mention the fact that they deactivate the body cam audio for no reason after this cuts out. So after this guy gives his speech, after they give the CEO a platform to speak to millions of people, they go and cut the audio. Yeah, I'm not believing that. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below, and we will continue to be reviewing this case. Catch you later.
All right, that's about it for the Bricks and Minifigs. Again, if you're still watching, consider liking the stream, subscribe if you want, and comment what you thought of it. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.
Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
And the quest for a champion begins today.
The anticipation has been building, and it is finally time. We are live.
Are you
That is a really.
Can you get over the roof there?
Oh my.
Oh my, what a play, what a grab!
Another jump here on the high ground. Super goes forward, but gets stuck off. The EMP comes in, and ding, he rains down hell from above.
Here comes Pine. Gets one, gets two. Looking for a bit more, gets another one.
Tuno down again. That heralds disaster generally for the Fusion, and Carpe wasn't far behind. Prophet, he's killed 4 players now on his own.
From Vancouver, locks him in the sound barrier. Sound is huge. Another bomb coming from Jono. Oh my God, he does it again.
Flutter now moving onto the Widowmaker, taking the clutch into his own hands. The headshot after headshot after headshot.
Okay, I like this for the Gladiators. We're going to try and circle around. I'm going to call this the merry-go-round because it makes me laugh. Makes me happy, and short ball switches to the Widowmaker at just the right time.
Oh, the Gravy!
I'm the best person in the world.
Oh my word!
I mean, you could have told me that you spoke English, honestly.
The fans never thought they'd see this day. It took 43 matches. Feels like a really emotional moment here.
I'll see you later. Bye.